All right, folks, so in the second week of class, we did this brief introduction to Plato to help prepare you for the Allegory of the Cave assignment, but since we're returning to Plato, we are now going to do a brief introduction to Plato revisited and more. So some of this should ring a bell. That is, we are going to talk about the life of Plato revisited, but then we're also going to discuss Plato's writing career, as well as kind of Plato's main thesis in his masterwork, The Republic. All right, so you are not experiencing deja vu right now. This slide should look familiar from the first slideshow that we did on Plato, but let's just do a review. So Plato was born to a wealthy noble family in the city-state of Athens in 428 or 427 BCE. And because of his social standing as an aristocrat, Plato was groomed to be a political leader in Athens. However, as a young man, Plato met the itinerant philosopher Socrates, who we studied last week, and Plato became one of his pupils. And Socrates was famous for initiating philosophical discussions with people in the Athenian marketplace, as we learn from the Apology dialogue. But in 399 BCE, Socrates was executed by the Athenian Senate on trumped-up charges of corrupting the youth. And it is because of the execution of his mentor Socrates that Plato came to view his society as corrupt, and he became highly critical of the Athenian system of democracy. And we're going to find that in the Republic, Plato gives a big thumbs down to democracy as a political system, considering it to be one of the worst forms of government. And following the death of Socrates, Plato traveled extensively and became educated in foreign cultures, religions, and philosophies. And in the next slideshow, we'll learn that he also studied Pythagorean philosophy. And in approximately 388 BCE, at the age of 40, Plato founded the Academy, a study in Athens, or a school in Athens rather, dedicated to the study of philosophy and mathematics. Now, before founding the Academy, Plato wrote the majority of his classic dialogues. That is, Plato wrote his philosophy in a unique way. They read rather like a play script where characters discuss crucial philosophical issues, hence why they're referred to as dialogues. And the main character in these dialogues, who features the most prominently, is his mentor, Socrates. But here's a problem that we encounter when we read Plato's works. When the character of Socrates, speaks in Plato's dialogues, whose ideas is he espousing? That is the character of Socrates voicing Socrates' ideas, or is the character of Socrates merely voicing Plato's own ideas? And this is referred to as the Socratic Problem. That is, whose ideas are Plato writing about? Is he writing about Socrates' ideas or his own ideas? Is he expressing Socrates' kind of philosophy, or is Socrates merely a mouthpiece for Plato's philosophy? Well, the general consensus among scholars is the following, is that how purely Plato is writing Socrates' philosophy depends upon which era Plato is writing in. So there are three major writing periods in Plato's life: the early dialogues, the middle dialogues, and the later dialogues. So in the early dialogues, like Plato's Apology, which we read for last week, it is believed that the dialogues reflect the ideas and sayings of his teacher, Socrates, arguably verbatim. So when you read the Apology, those are the teachings of Socrates. Then we have the middle dialogues, like the Meno, which we're going to read for this week, where the dialogues represent a combination of Socrates' actual discussions and Plato's original ideas. So the Meno is believed to actually have been a discussion between Socrates and Meno, but Plato kind of adds some of his own ideas, such as the learning as recollection and the existence of the eternal soul. And then in the later dialogues, these refer to Plato's own thought, and Socrates basically uses a mouthpiece to explain Platonic ideas. So in other words, Socrates appears in basically all the dialogues, but in the very beginning ones, he's basically copying down Socrates' thought verbatim, In the middle dialogue, he's mixing Socrates' thought with his own, but then toward the end of his career, when he writes the Republic, Socrates is basically just a character in the dialogue to voice Plato's philosophy. Now, speaking of the Republic, Plato's most popular work is a late dialogue called The Republic. And it is Plato's most mature book, but it is also his most comprehensive in that he discusses a wide array of philosophical issues throughout the text. And as you are well aware, it famously contains Plato's most famous illustration, the allegory of the cave. Now, what is the thesis or the main concern of Plato's Republic? Well, Plato is concerned with the following question. What is the ideal perfect government? So, as we learned earlier, he did not think much of the Athenian government. He thought democracy was the worst. So he wants to know, what is the ideal government? So, in other words, Plato's central concern in the Republic is political in nature. And as I mentioned a moment ago, he was highly critical of the existent government models in Greece at the time, especially the Athenian democracy in Athens, which he likened to mob rule. And it is within the pages of the Republic that Plato builds his alternative ideal political system, which he says will be governed by what he calls the philosopher kings. And we'll learn more about this in the following presentations. And speaking of the following presentation, let's now proceed to the teachings of Plato.